Okay, folks, once again, we're going to go through another chapter of my life. A little story that takes place at, it's kind of hard to explain, but let me start. Once again, I'm about 12-year-old. We're still living in the same old house down in Tampa, Florida that we were in earlier when I was telling you about all the snakes that we run across. Well, we're still there. For just a short time now. But this house we rented it. It's an old house, probably built in the early 1900s. And this is probably around early, like 1960, 61. So I'm about 12 and a half year old. And at this time, my stepfather, let me tell you a little bit about him first. He was a good man. In his way, he was a good father. But he had one bad habit. When he lost it, if I misbehaved in any way, me and my two brothers, especially me, I was the oldest one. It seemed like I usually took the blunt of his anger. He would beat the living daylights out of me. He never spanked me. And the whole time I knew him, he never spanked me. But he did beat me. And dang near beat you to death. He would take a belt or a stick or something. That you've done something wrong, you shouldn't have misbehaved, whatever you done. And he would start beating you. And he was a strong man. I mean, strong. He laid carpet for a living, and he toted a lot of heavy weights and done a lot of heavy work. So he was a man of men. But when he started beating on you, he would beat till he got tired. And it took a long time for a big man like him to get tired. And he would beat you with that whip or that belt. Not a whip, but belt or sticks. And he wouldn't let up until he was wore out. And usually by then you had dozens and dozens of welts across your back, your butt, your legs. And when you have a big bloody welt come up on you and you hit it again and again, it busts into blood, and blood flies everywhere. And after he finally got through beating on you, the dang bed would be covered in blood, the pillows would be covered in blood, the floor would have blood on it. And then he'd make you go get a mop and rags and start mopping every dang thing up. Pull all the sheets off, the pillows off, and take them and put them in the wash machine and wash them. It wasn't enough to beat you. You had to clean everything up afterwards. So I didn't get a beating that often. It might be once every 7, 8 months, something. But when I got a beating, it took 7 months to get over it. But now, like I said, this is what kind of man he was. He was a strong man that didn't take nothing off anyone. He wouldn't back down from you. Well, at this time in our life, we were required to be in bed exactly 9 o'clock at night. So our bedroom, the room me and my two brothers lived in, or slept in, had 3 little single beds. Mine was closest to the wall that separated the living room from the bedroom. And my two brothers that were on the other side of the room, at the very back other side, they had a separate bed also. Well, at 9 o'clock, we go to bed, and on this particular night, there was a Western of some kind, like Gunsmoke playing, or might have been Paladin. I can't remember exactly, but there was a Western. I remember that. And I was watching it when it come 9 o'clock, and the old man said, "Bed." Well, he didn't. There was no option. You jumped and you moved real quick. So the bed we went. Well, it was in Tampa, Florida, but we slept in pajamas, pajama top, pajama bottoms, And when I slept on the bed back then, you always laid face down, pulled the covers up around you, just up to your neck, and you're laying there. And now on this particular night, I was laying there with my head off the side, trying to listen to that Western, because I was right next to the wall, and there was a little bitty narrow closet door there. And then on the other side of that closet was the TV in the living room. Well, my parents was on the far side of the living room, and they had got into an argument. And they was drowning out the Western. And I was trying to listen to it. I might have been in bed, but I was still listening to it. And then I'd be listening, and they'd raise their voice, and they'd drown out the dang TV. And I wish they'd just quit arguing, quit arguing. Well, as I'm laying there, when you entered my room, the door was directly at the base of my bed, where the foot of my bed would have been. You walk about 6, 7 steps, and you'd be the door entering the room. Well, when you step into my room, it's old hardwood floors. About the second step in there, there was a particular board that was loose. And when you stepped on it, it go, like in a horror movie. Well, it would do that. That one board. So I'm listening to the TV. Mom and Dad is arguing. My brother's been asleep for about 20 minutes over there. And I'm laying head down, you know, covered up right up to my neck. And I hear this. Well, the door hasn't opened up. I know it ain't opened up. But I heard that. And when I heard that, I said, you know, I'm just laying there, a little kid in the dark, you know, I'm 12-year-old, and it's kind of scary, you know. I go, what was that? I said, I know I heard that squeaking floor. I know I heard that. And I'm listening now, because it only can be Mom and Daddy moving, but I can hear them. They're still in the other end of the room, living room. They're still talking. So I said, I must imagine that. Nothing, just dead quiet in there. And I'm not listening to TV as much as I'm listening all around me, because I heard something, and it's pitch black in that room there, because we have lights out. And about that time, on the foot of my bed, on the left side, I'm laying face down, head like this. The side of my bed just sinks down. Just like somebody sat down on the bed. Old little single bed just sunk down, right there at the foot. When it sunk down, I mean, I'm about ready to jump up, you know, because I know it ain't my mom and daddy, I can hear them. But when it sunk down, that exact moment, something reached over and grabbed my ankle. Now, I'm laying face down. It grabbed hold of my ankle, and it grabbed hold like a man, brother. I mean, it gripped down tight. And when it done that, I couldn't have moved if I'd wanted to. I froze stiff as a board. But now it only held that ankle probably 2-3 seconds. It wasn't like half a minute, nothing like just 2 or 3 seconds. But it was tight, and it was hard, and it was ice cold. Well, about that time, that hands let go, and the side of the bed shot up. Well, we're talking 1/10 of a millionth of a second. When that hand let go and the bed shot up, my little butt shot up, straight up on that bed. I come straight up, and I'm standing on that bed, and I whirled around, and I'm screaming. I am scared crap. This crap has been scared out of me. Well, I'm screaming. I'm standing in a dark room, but there's enough light coming up on the door. I can see there ain't nothing there. There's nobody in there, but I ain't shut up. I'm out screaming. About that time, the old man gets there. He comes down that hall. He jerks that door open, flips the light on. And that old man don't like being fooled with. When he opened that door up, boy, I'm going to whoop your butt. Screaming like that, because it pissed him off. And there might be something in the room scared me, but now that old man scared you too. And I'm thinking, oh, crap, I'm going to get a beating. I'm going to get a beating. And Mama runs around him. She comes over and what's going on? What's going on? You know. And I said, somebody's in this room. And the old man said, boy, there ain't nobody in this room. And I said, yes, sir, there's somebody's in here. I'm telling you, he grabbed me. Well, that old man, he was a mean sucker when he had to be. But most of the time, he was a good fella. When I told him there was somebody in that room, he didn't take that lightly. He was like, I told you, he was a carpet layer. He always had a little leather pouch on his side. He carried his little knives that slide in and out to cut carpet. And he still had it on the side from work. When I said that, he didn't doubt me at all. He assumed right immediately that somebody had broke in that house. He whipped that knife out like that there. He just dropped straight down and grabbed the side of my bed, which had long covers on it, and flipped him up. And he come around with that knife. He was coming around. He wasn't trying to take no prisoners. He's going to kill somebody. And he come around that knife, and he looked up on it, and there was nobody there. He jumped up, and ran over and jerked the covers up on the other two beds, my other two brothers, and they've come awake now, and they're sitting up there covered up with the covers. They don't know what's going on. They're terrified too, because they don't know what happened. And so he jumps up, he looks around, and he runs back across the room to the wall right beside my bed, because there's a closet door there. And that's a narrow little closet, probably 4 foot long, about 18 inches deep, just a little small closet. He grabs that door and he jerks it open, and he comes down with it like a knife. And he figures there's somebody, they got to be in there, because they couldn't have got out of the room. Well, there's nobody there. And he looks around, he looks in there, and he slams that door, he turns around, boy, he puts that knife up. He said, boy, I am going to beat you half to death. And he starts pulling that belt off, because he is mad. I have made a mistake. I have pissed him off. And Mama said, no, he's don't beat him now. No, Get out of the way. He's going to get a beating. And she's sitting there trying to talk him down, calm me down, because I am really crying now. I ain't scared of something in the dark. I know I'm getting my butt whooped, and I mean really whooped. It ain't a spanking. It's a beating. And somehow or another, she finally says something like, "Well, where did he grab you?" You know, and I'm trying to think of something. And I said, "He grabbed my ankle, grab my ankle." And she said, "Which ankle?" And I said, left leg, you know. Well, I got on pajamas. She pulls up the pajamas from my foot, pulls it up. And I said, nobody had looked down there. When you look down from the ankle up, there was his handprint. And I mean, he'd gripped so hard that it was bluish black. And you could see 3 or 4 of the fingers and the big thumb where they had just pressed in so hard. Now, this has been like 4 or 5 minutes after it happened. And I mean, it's bluish black. It's bruised bad. And that's exactly where it was ice cold when he grabbed me. And when she seen that, she said, "Look." She started looking at it. And the old man looked over his shoulder and he reached down and grabbed my leg, pulled it up a little bit and looked at that there. And he looked around. And I'll never forget this, because this is a man, you didn't mess with him. He didn't take crap off nobody. He looked around, dropped my ankle, and he walked straight over there. But 2 brothers, one's at each bed, he just reached down, grabbed one, grabbed the other, and jerked them right out of bed. They still had the covers with them, and they would hang on the covers. He just snatched them both up. And he says, "Take him and get in the living room right now." And my mama grabbed me up, took us in there, and he threw us all on the big old couch in the living room. He said, and he threw the covers across us. He said, "Y'all gonna sleep in here tonight?" And he turned around to Mom and he said, "I can tell you right now, son will never sit another night with us living in this house. We will be out of here tomorrow night before dark." And sure enough, I don't know where he went to work that day or not, but the next afternoon, before dark, we was 2.5 miles away in some kind of subdivision in a much modern home. And we had moved. He had got everything out of that house. So he didn't believe in ghosts, I guess, or whatever. But something happened that night he didn't want to talk about, didn't want to think about. He dang sure wasn't going to spend another night. Now, we'd been there for over 1.5 years. Never had seen anything, heard anything. And I didn't say it was a ghost, because I don't know what it was. I didn't say it was a spirit, because I don't know what that is. But I can guarantee you something came through the door there, and he wasn't there that you could see. And you could he had enough presence to grab my ankle, and I mean, it was ice cold and bruised the skin. I mean, I can't remember whether it was still that way a couple of days later or not, but I know half hour later, it's still black and blue. And it wasn't just a blues, it was handprints. Perfect. You can just see them. Big handprint, just black blue. So, now, if you've never had nothing like that happen, there's no way in the world you're going to believe it. But if you've ever had anything like this happen, there's no doubt in your mind something happened. You know what I'm talking about. But 12-year-old kid, that was an awakening right there. I don't know what it was. We never found out. We moved out of that house and we never went back, that's for sure. But it was a kind of an interesting thing to happen. But it was just one. I've got several things that's happened years later that all tie in together. The different things that a lot of people probably never even had one instance where you ever seen a ghost or a spirit or whatever. Well, there's just several times that things like that has happened over my lifetime, and they're none of them related, but they've happened. So there's something out there, and I don't know what it is. I can't tell you for one way at all, but it ain't funny, especially with a 12-year-old kid. It ain't funny at all. But that grown man, I think he realized that knife wasn't going to do him no good that night. He was wanting to get out of that house, and he died. I'm 42, 44-year-old from smoking cigarettes. Had lung cancer, killed him. I never got around to asking him why he beat me all the time when he did. I don't know where he brought up that way, or where he just thought that was the way you're supposed to handle misbehaving kids. It would have been interesting to talk to him and found out that. Except for that, he wasn't bad. And finally, when I was 16, I put a stop to that beating me. It come to a halt. And he ended up being a really good father. But he didn't like whatever that was. And I didn't like it either, but that was something that I would like to ask him if he'd ever, maybe he had seen something like that when he was a kid, and it brought it back to him, because it terrified him as bad as it was me. He didn't even see it or feel it. He was wanting to get out of that house as fast as we could, which I'm thanking for it too, because I didn't want to spend another night in that room anyway. Well, that's one story that I want to pass on. Got plenty more to tell, but this is one that it took place. This ain't no made-up story. I didn't add anything to it. But that's it for the night, folks. Talk to you later, and we'll see you later.